It's time for Onpoint, where we speak to experts to delve deeper into key issues in the spotlight right now. South Korea's film industry's quarter-one sales jumped 52% on year, but it still saw cinema chains in the red in the same quarter. However, with more easing of restrictions, many moviegoers are now flocking to theatres.
That's right. So what movies should we look out for with the weekend upon us? Well, we connect with Pierce Conran, a Seoul-based film critic. Thanks for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. How are you?
Good, good. So before we ask you for some, recommendations, how much longer will it be until Korean production companies start releasing more films? Because it does look like there's still a limited number of domestic films currently being screened.
That's true. The local distributors have certainly been cautious throughout the pandemic, and that remains the case today. The summer, of course, is normally the busiest time for theaters. You normally have a lot of films competing for that really hot real estate at the box office. But this year, as the last few years, there haven't been too many films programmed as yet. We have a handful. We have a new film out now, which I'm looking forward to talking to you guys about. There are a few films scheduled next month, some of them in conjunction with the Cannes Film Festival. So they're platforming at the Cannes Film Festival this week and next, and then we'll hope to use that buzz to help them with their releases in Korea next month. And there are a handful of releases later in the summer. And that's kind of similar to what we've seen in the last few years, where we had, for instance, in 2020, the first summer of the pandemic, there were really only two major films that were released in summer. Those were Peninsula, the Train to Busan sequel, and Deliver Us from Evil, the hit action noir with Hwang Jung-min and now Lee Jung-jae, now the global star of Squid Game. And last summer we had Ri Sung-wan's Escape from Mogadishu and the disaster film Sinkhole. And those films, all had some audiences, but those were, of course, very limited compared to what we would normally expect. And so distributors have been in kind of perpetual wait and see mode and hoping for things to change. And now it seems like things are about to change. I think we're going to see the calendars filling up significantly over the next few weeks.
Well, I know that the new Doctor Strange movie is dominating box offices here right now, but are there any Korean films that stand out for you?
Absolutely. So yes, Doctor Strange was very successful in its first week in Korea, completely to be expected. Marvel has been so successful in Korea and of course around the world. And the question for people was, can Korean films compete? Marvel does well, but can anything else work in the marketplace? And now the answer is clearly a resounding yes, because the new film, The Roundup, that is a sequel to the 2017 film, The Outlaws, with Ma Dong-seok, also known as Don Lee, the star of also Marvel, the Eternals. This film has been very successful. It opened at the box office on Wednesday. It was clearly number one. It was the best debut of a Korean film during the pandemic, and it's getting great notices. Now, of course, there are a lot of the films coming out next month are very interesting. I mentioned about the Cannes Film Festival. So two of the films coming out next month are premiering at Cannes in competition, and these are both very, very exciting films. One of them is called Broker, which is actually by a Japanese filmmaker called Hirokazu Koreeda, who made Shoplifters, won the Palme d'Or at Cannes several years ago. This is his Korean film debut. It stars Song Kang-ho, it stars Lee Ji-eun, of course, better known by her K-pop moniker IU. It stars Kang Dong-won and Bae Juna and lots of other people. So it's a very exciting drama coming out. And then, of course, Park Chan-wook, the great artist, is coming back to theaters with Decision to Leave, which is kind of like a romantic thriller starring Park Hae-il and Chinese star Tang Wei. There's also another sequel, The Witch 2, or The Witch Part 2, the other one, which is a sequel to Park Hoon-jung's film with Kim Dan-mi from a few years ago. So that's another film that people are very excited about. And then this summer, the films that we already know about are Hansan, which is sort of a prequel to Roaring Currents, still the most successful Korean film of all time, all stars Park Hae-il, and then Alienoid, which is the Choi Dong-hoon film. This is the director of Thieves and Assassination. This is part one of a two-part kind of a sci-fi fantasy blockbuster that we're all very excited about. So I'm excited about all these films. I think viewers are, and soon the calendar will hopefully fill up a lot more exciting Korean films that have been held back for the last few years.
mean, it's certainly a very long list, but like you said, I mean, the one movie that I really am looking forward to watching is 범죄 도시 2, which again, the English title being The Roundup. The first movie, obviously one of the best movies that I've watched in my recent memory, a smash hit certainly here in the country. But what are some of the critics like yourself saying about the sequel here? I mean, is this a must-see movie?
Unfortunately, I have yet to see it. I just came back from a trip, so I'm really looking forward to getting out and going to see it this weekend. But everything I've heard about it has been great. The buzz was pretty strong while it was being made. I've spoken to people the last few months from foreign festivals and foreign sales agents who are, buying it for international territories. They were really excited about it, liked it. And now critics have seen it here and viewers have watched it, and the scores are very, very high. So it seems like it's really recaptured the charm of the original. The first film. It relies a lot on Ah Dong-seok and known as Don Lee, his kind of natural charisma, and it's a wonderful, wonderful showcase for him as the burly detective who really speaks with his fists. And so it's an action comedy. It's very, very crunchy and gritty and fun, and this new one seems to be the same thing. And there's a lot of great notices for the new villain. In the first film, the villain was Yoon Jae-sang, who played a really vicious Chinese Korean gangster, and he was very popular. And now Son Suk-woo is playing a new villain. First of all, based in Vietnam. The Ma Dong-seok's character is going to Vietnam to extradite the suspect who runs into this new villain, and they chase him back to Korea. Son Suk-woo, of course, is a wonderful actor who's also getting huge notices for the drama he's starring in right now called My Liberation Notes, which is a wonderful show if you like K-dramas. And so he's having a very big moment. And so yeah, people love it. I'm super excited to see it, and I think it's going to do huge numbers. It's already at 1 million viewers in 2 days, which is by far the best start we've seen for a Korean film during the pandemic.
Well, that is a lot to look forward to this year. If we're already almost halfway through 2022, if you can believe it, but it looks like there's a lot of exciting movies that we can check out in person in theatres in South Korea. Thank you so much for your insights this morning. Looking forward to watching some of these movies that you recommended.
My pleasure.